Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jason Reed. I've got Danielle Whitaker here, who's a close friend and someone I work with very closely, and Dr. Mark Goulston, who is a mentor, a friend. He is in the movie we made together. And we're here to talk to you today about your kids' mental health. The question is, why are we doing this? Well, I'm doing this because it's the world I live in. We're doing this now because our world has changed so much. And as I try to tell everybody that I work with is that I believe that we're going to be remembered and we're going to be judged by how we all deal with the situation we're in today. This is one of those moments in history where the people are going to look back and go, how did you act and what did you do? The first meaningful talk today is going to be on the mental health of your kids in quarantine and unfortunately teen suicide because they're tied together. If you take a look at the studies right now, or what's happening is the calls to the suicide hotline are up 300% last week. Kids are at home. If they were already anxious, if they were already nervous, if they're already having dark thoughts, those are getting amplified right now. So we want to talk about how you can talk to your kids. I have my experiences. Dr. Goulston has a ton of experience, and he's the one really going to deliver the value today. But what I like to do is try to get the story out of the way first. So Danielle is going to push play on a short 8-minute video, which is a goal cast I did 3 weeks ago that actually just came out 3 weeks ago. And it's going to tell the story about why we're here today.
Ryan got grumpier as time went on. He spent more time in his room. I didn't notice that sign. I missed it. I thought I checked in on him. I did every day. How you doing? I'm fine. Okay, I guess you're fine. I didn't realize that fine meant I'm not fine. But how many times do we talk to our teens and say, yeah, I'm fine? They chose I'm fine for a reason.
It's hard sometimes, it's hard to know what the balance is. With my kids sometimes, I make a smaller deal out of things that my wife makes a big deal about, right?
Is there like a rule of thumb or draw the line?
Well, I can't draw the line for you, right? I wish I could because I'm not a psychologist, I'm not an expert. I'm a guy who lost his kid, who spent the last year and a half trying to figure out why. Those of us with teenagers and those of us who've seen teenagers a lot, how do you talk to them? Well, I can tell you what they want and what they don't want. What they don't want is you to burst into their room when they're watching some video on YouTube and say, we need to talk. That's the wrong time to talk to them. That's when they say, I'm fine, leave me alone. But they all have that time when they'll talk to you. Maybe it's driving in the car when you take them to school, when they're walking the dog. I can tell you though, it's also inconvenient. Because I know all the times that Ryan came up to my office because I worked from home and said, hey Dad, can we talk? And I said, dude, on a call, 30 minutes, I'll be right there. And how many of you have done that? I don't know which one of those times, if any of those times, was the time Ryan wanted to come up and tell me how he was really feeling. It was my wife's birthday, so her and I headed down to Mexico on the 20th of March. We got to Mexico, and I'll always remember this because the night of the 21st, we were having dinner. And our phones went off at the exact same time as 11:03, and we each had a text. But it was Ryan, basically saying, I love you, and then he said goodbye. I freaked out. My wife's screaming. I got on the phone, I called my mother-in-law who was looking after the kids. I'm like, find Ryan. I'm yelling at her, and Kim's yelling at Kyle, and she's running around the house, and she finds him. He took his own life. I've never felt more helpless in my entire life. All I wanted to do was be there and save him, and I couldn't.
What would you tell people who would tell you it's not your fault?
That I'm responsible. There's things that if I had it done differently, Ryan would still be here. I wouldn't be standing in front of all you guys saying, please learn from what I didn't do right. And I wanted to see if there's like something I could find, a letter or a notebook or something. And I start going through drawers. And I open it up, and it's empty, except for 2 sticky notes. I pulled out, one said, my usernames and passwords, and the other one said, tell my story. Tell what happened from your eyes so that parents are looking at their kids differently. And I traveled around the Pacific Northwest in California talking to a whole bunch of parents and a whole bunch of kids, and I researched the heck out of all this. The stats are staggering. So for me, I'm going, why?
What is it you think that you would change going back?
When I look back at Ryan, I showed up this way. I'm a CEO, coach, an Ironman, I'm a black belt, I'm an author. If there's a problem, I fix it. My kids never saw me cry. As far as they know, I never did. I've failed at 13 businesses. I've almost been bankrupt 3 times. My wife and kids never knew. I protected them from reality. At least I thought I was protecting them. I thought that's the way I should be a dad. And then what did my 14-year-old son do? He looked at me and said,
"This is how a real man fights."
that's the way a man and a father is supposed to be. And so he showed up that way. Ryan was the class clown. Ryan talked all the time. Ryan came home from dinner, told great stories about how things happened, about his bully, and how he verbally trounced his bully and thought it was funny as heck. He never shared the fact that he had any problems. He had lots of them. Because he thought that that's how he's supposed to show up. And I regret that.
What would you teach fathers to basically help them talk with their kids?
First thing you do is you listen. You listen to how they feel and make sure they know that you care. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on at school? Have you ever felt sad? Have you ever felt mad? Have you ever felt anxious? And you understand that how they feel is how they feel. You can't fix how they feel. And this is what we as dads do. We fix stuff. How many times has your wife said to you, I don't want you to fix my problem, I just want you to listen to me? That's hard for dads to do because we want to protect our kids. When we go into overprotection mode, when we protect them every time they fall, so they can't fall, then what do they believe when they become 14, 15, 16, 17? They believe there's nothing wrong that's ever going to happen. We create kids that do not have any resilience in their lives. I want to do a little exercise with you. Close your eyes for a second. I want you to think back to when you were 12, 13 years of age. And I want you to put up your hands if you were ever bullied. Put up your hands if you ever felt like you weren't happy with your life. If you ever felt like you weren't as cool as the other kids. Leave your hands up for a second and open your eyes. All right, now put your hands down. Put up your hands if you ever thought that you would go ahead and share those deep, dark, painful moments with your kids. Yeah, I didn't, because I was like you. But I wish someone took the time to talk to me and tell me I might need to change. Had I been more vulnerable with my own kids, to share with them, like, yeah, you know what, I was bullied, and I was bullied. I didn't think I had a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of friends. I never shared any of that with my kids.
If you could say one thing to Ryan, what would it be?
If I could say one thing to Ryan, I'd say I'm sorry. I'd say I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I failed you as a dad. I'm sorry. I'm a lot more open now with my kids. And you know what? I have a lot deeper conversations with my kids now than I ever had. All right, so what do we do now? Everything's only going to change if we change. The world's only going to change if we decide as parents that we're going to make it change. And we're going to make it change if we all decide to be that person that our kids want to come talk to, that our kids feel safe with. If we tell our stories and we start to have real emotional connections with our children, that's when the world starts changing. You can make a difference with your own family. I'm making a difference with the family I have left. I would love it if you all told your story.
I'll tell my story.
I'll tell my story.
So I founded ChooseLife.org with the idea that we can end the direction of teen suicide if we all get together around the idea that it starts with us being great parents. I was speaking to Jackie Simmons, who is from the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. I was speaking to her yesterday, and I said, trying to get parents to understand that when kids say they're fine, they're not really fine. is always a struggle. And she said, yeah, you know what fine really means? It means I'm frenzied, I'm insecure, I'm neurotic, and I'm emotional. That's what fine really means. I thought that was just a great way of describing fine.
Yeah, that's very true. So, and something that we've developed on our end is something that I now call the 8 words. So if you're having that conversation with your kids, you can say, I got 8 words for you. Now, if they're a sullen, leave me alone teenager, they may fire something back at you that when I was a kid, they'd wash my mouth out with soap. But and it's interesting, if my kids stopped at shut up, I'd wonder why they're having such a good day, compared to what they usually say. But here are the 8 words. And so you say, I got 8 words for you. And they say, what? Because I got 8 words. Let me just run them by you and see where they land. And here are the 8 words. Anxious, depressed, afraid, angry, ashamed, alone, lonely, tired. I'll say those again, write them down. Anxious, depressed, afraid, angry, ashamed, alone, lonely, tired. Recently, I've been on some other interviews and people added 2 more words, which you can add, frustrated or nothing. But you say, pick one of the words. And when I would speak to suicidal patients, I would say, pick one of the words. And more than a few of them would smile at me, cock their head and say, all of them. And the reason they would smile is because they were feeling relief. I don't know if any of you can remember this, but when we were growing up, they used to teach us in nursery school, use your words, use your words. And I realized it wasn't just use your words. What they were telling us is use I words. I feel upset, I feel scared. I don't think they were telling us to use you word, like you did this or you did that. That usually just makes things worse. And there's actually research that shows that when you can attach the right word to what you're feeling, it lessens agitation in your brain. When we're venting, you, it often increases the agitation. But when underneath it all, you can say, I feel scared. Or if you pick from one of those 8 words, you say, I feel angry. I feel ashamed. And so here's what I would do with patients, and you can do with your kid. So they pick the word. So the first step is you give them the words, they pick the word, and then you say, at its absolute worst, how deeply can you feel that? And this is going to be a strange conversation because it's fairly intimate. And they may look at you like pretty bad. Then the next question you ask, when you're feeling that, how alone do you feel? Because often it's the feeling it and the aloneness that makes them even plummet even more. And they're often going to say pretty alone or all alone. And then what you want to say to them is, take me to the last time you felt that. And they're going to go, what? Take me to the last time you felt that. And I want you to describe it so that I can see it. And I'm a neuroscientist, and here's an interesting thing. When they can describe something so clearly that you can see it. It was 2:30 in the morning and I couldn't get to bed, and then what happened? Well, I was looking around for one of your sleeping pills, or I just felt like putting my fist or my head through the wall or whatever. But the more clearly that they can describe it, that you can see it, they re-feel it. But they're not feeling it alone. They're feeling it with you. And if they start to feel it with you, if you're fortunate, they're going to start to cry with relief. Don't get nervous. Oh my God, I'm making them upset. No, you're draining the pain from them. sometimes we cry with frustration or whatever it is, and it's not the same thing. But when they're sharing that with you, they're feeling relief. I think in this day and age of the coronavirus, we should all be worried because, see, our kids are looking to us to reassure them and be safe, and we're not feeling safe. And I'll give you an insight that I don't know that you've ever thought of this, Jay, but if you can relate to what Jay's saying, a lot of times parents don't want to share, especially fathers, they don't want to share their issues because they don't want to burden their families. On the surface, I need to be strong. But here's the underlying thing, because I was a therapist for many years. What they'll share with me is the reason I don't want to share it with anyone is because I never got over it. I got past it. I got busy. I built things, but I never got over it. And I don't want to re-feel it. So we buried it and we found a way to deal with it by keeping busy. So I bring that up because now that we're sheltering at home, and the kinds of things we did to keep busy are being taken away from us. And our ability to build things as a way of escaping these feelings, we're all really sort of on edge. Which means you can start, especially if you're a guy, because guys tend to bury this thing. This would be a good time when you get a sense something's going wrong with one of your kids. You could say, you're reminding me of when I was your age. And there were a lot of times when I was your age when I felt pretty awful, and I just didn't touch anyone. And, I distracted myself, I got busy. And if you look at your kid and you say this, when I was your age, I tried to bury it all. And it's still in there, and I don't want it to stay in you all by yourself. It's still in me, and I don't want it to stay in you stuck. And if you get to be a parent and you get the owner's manual, you can't let your kids be alone in hell. But you got to let me know when you're there. And if you're feeling anything, do anything it takes to get your mom or my attention. Do whatever it takes, because I can get distracted in whatever I'm doing. But that's job one. I cannot allow you to be in hell alone.
So there's a couple of questions in here about how do you, balance out you sharing and making sure they talk and getting them to talk. A couple of things to keep in mind is that they're only going to talk to you when they want to talk to you. And that space that is their room that they're hiding out in right now is probably not where they want to talk to you. You got to get them out of that space. And as I discovered yesterday, you want to open the window in that space because it was a little stinky in Kyle's room, I noticed. 18-year-old boy. So, but get them out of that room and make sure they're moving around, right? And if they're open to listening, then you share. And if they're talking, you let them talk. You let them talk. And the big thing about this too, that Mark will probably agree with, because I know we've done this multiple times together. Don't try to fix them. If they actually open up to you, if you can get them to open up to you and say, I'm feeling really down. I'm feeling like this coronavirus thing is gonna just ruin everything. Your natural feeling is to say, no, it's not going to ruin everything. We're all mad at Trump for saying we're going to be back in church on Easter Sunday, and he never should have said that, right? But if your kid comes to you and says, I'm really scared about the coronavirus, your natural instincts will be, you don't need to be scared. It's going to be okay. You're going to be just fine. I guarantee you almost all of us would say that because we don't want our kids to be hurt and scared. The minute you don't take them seriously or cut off their feelings, they're going to stop talking to you. So if they tell you, I've had thoughts about my life sucks, I don't like my life, our natural go-to as parents go, you know what? You got a great life. Look around you. I wish I had your life. I probably did that to Ryan. We've probably all done that to our kids. So you have to fight your instincts and let them talk and let them acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I hope it's not that bad, but I understand how you feel that way. But let's live it all together and understand we still have togetherness, and we'll just pay attention every day to it together. What else can you do, Mark?
Yeah, there's a term that I got from one of my mentors, and he got it from actually a playwright named Saul Bellow. Some of you may know the name. And Saul Bellow said, be a first-class noticer. Because when you notice something, you're connected with it. Like I'm noticing that I'm looking into this camera, and when I look into the camera lens, I'm not seeing Jay, but I'm noticing the camera lens. And so noticing, you attach to something, whereas looking, watching, and seeing, you're just passive. And so if you're in a conversation with your kids, be a first-class notice when they use charged words. Or their voice goes up. If they say awful or I'm scared, let them finish the sentence. Don't interrupt them, because if you interrupt them, they're going to say, you wanted me to open up and now you're shutting me down. You're there to allow it to come out. And then you say more about the scared. Say more about afraid. And basically what you want to do, and I'm a medical doctor, is you want to drain the abscess and not suture over it too quickly. And the way you do that is you keep them talking. Say more about that. At its worst, what's it like for you? When's the last time you felt that way? When you felt that way, how'd you deal with it? How did that work out? If you had that way to deal with again from that last time you felt this way, what would have been a better thing to do? But you keep them talking, because what you want to do is, if any of you know anything about surgery and you go in, you leave a drain inside surgical wounds because it wants to heal from the inside out. It's just the way the body is. And so what you want to do is you want to go into that wound in the dark night of the soul or their depression, and you want to keep them expressing emotional pus until it drains.
There's a huge connection between moving, getting fresh air, how you eat, and getting exercise, and your mental health. When you sit, if you just sit in a chair staring at a screen for extended periods of time, you're going to have mental health challenges. You're just not going to get there. For all of us, not just our kids, we should all find a way to get some exercise in, no matter where you live. You can do push-ups. You can do whatever it's going to be in your house. You can jog on the spot. Get a little exercise routine going as a family with your kids. They might laugh at you at the beginning and tell you they're not going to do it, but they need to do it. They need to get that body moving. Now, I mean, Doctor, how does that connection between the body and physical, how does that even work? Because you would know, I don't.
Well, when you're moving, what happens is you start to get a sense of pleasure, you start to get a sense of well-being, but you're reminding me of something that I'm going to add to what you're saying. I'm going to build on it. A few years ago, someone told me about this woman, and I think she has a site called Anna Runs America. It might be up there. And this is a woman who ran across America to help veterans charities. And when someone asked her, how did you keep from bailing out? How did you keep from giving up? She said, I kept looking at things as if I was a blind person seeing things for the first time. Oh my God, that's a palm tree. Oh, that's a mom and pop business. And so what you might do to build on what Jay is saying, go for walks. Stay-at-home order doesn't mean you can't go to your house. Keep the distance, but you may share this with your kid and say, I want to play a game. And the game is called looking at stuff and listening to stuff as if we're blind and deaf, and suddenly we're not. Because the more that you can actually notice something and you get attached to it, the more it gets you out of your head. For any of you who practice meditation or mindfulness, that's exactly what it is. It is focused awareness outside your head. Focus on your breathing. Focus on slowing it down. So I think to build on what Jay says, yeah, I think if you can do some exercising, just go for a regular walk. And a lot of times it can be very silent. You can say, I want to play a game. And you can even tell them about the Anna Runs America thing. You could say, why don't we just notice things for the first time? And you share that. And then you can say, what does it remind you of? But every time you do that, it's getting you out of a constricted mind. Because the more your mind wants to pull away, which is what's happening to all of us. You know, the human tendency is we want to huddle like this, but the more we pull away, the more our imagination, it runs wild. And so that this might be a way to help counter that.
Routine also works. We all like routine. It makes us feel better about things, right? We've lost our routines. We don't go to the office. The kids don't go to school. Every routine we had is pretty much done. And I kind of believe we're going to be in the spot for 4 to 8 weeks. So you need to build some new routines. Your kids need some new routines. So what Mark's saying is get at 5 o'clock, call the time, whatever you want to call it, right? But have a routine that at 5 o'clock we go for a family walk 6 feet apart. That's what we do. We get outside and go for a family walk. At 9 in the morning, maybe we do some calisthenics and make some fun of it. At dinner time, we all have dinner as a family. Hey, you got nowhere else to go. If you're not having dinner as a family with the TV off, what are you doing? Gosh, I mean, dinner conversations should be the best they've ever been right now. If you're not eating together as a family, you're missing out on the most important part of us all being together right now. But give your kids some routine.
Now, something else you can, if you go to markgoulston.com, I've just been blogging up a storm because I go to bed and with a problem that the world is facing, and in the morning, I'm just spewing out stuff. And I think I have one called the coronavirus bedtime story. Because what I realized, and maybe you'll agree with me, the opposite of panic is perspective. The opposite of panic is perspective. So panic is the sky is falling. Perspective is this too shall pass. And another habit that you can try, and you can institute it, you can say, I don't want anyone to feel alone and in their head, that because we're a family. And what you can start instituting is you ask everybody to go around, what was the best and worst thing that happened to you today? And nobody gives advice. And again, you go a level deeper, say more about that whenever they talk about it. And then you could say, what is the thing you're most excited about tomorrow? What is the thing you're most hopeful about tomorrow? Maybe excited is not a good word. What is the thing you're most hopeful about tomorrow? And what is the thing you're most nervous about? Because as you get people to express both those about what's already happened and what they're thinking about tomorrow, you're laying the seeds for perspective. And what's perspective? Good stuff happens, bad stuff happens. But as you're each sharing that, you're also feeling that as a family.
How do you deal with bullies? How do you deal with social media? I'm going to give you my perspective on this, and I'm sure Dr. Mark has his. When I interviewed those kids for the movies, I asked, what about Instagram? And they all, hands down, said social media is a really bad thing when you're a depressed kid. I don't read the comments on my TED Talks or on my Goalcast because I don't want to deal with the bullies. And I don't want to deal with the trolls and the haters. But your kids are reading that stuff in their Instagram because people are just that way. So how do you deal with it? You need to have the conversations, I think, almost on a daily basis with kids you're worried about. Like, let's go through and talk about your social media. What is the worst thing someone said to you today? Let's talk about it. And you need them to understand that, you know, that person said bad things about me in that email. Initially, I got heated, and then I calmed down and said, wow, I really feel sorry for that person that they don't understand the way the world works. And you've got to get your kids to think differently, that it's not them, it's that hater doesn't get it. Mark, how do you deal with that?
You know, what part of my other background is I've trained hostage negotiators.
Of course you did.
Hey, we're all being held hostage. I can't get the coronavirus to listen to me. Why won't it listen to me? But here is a tweak you can try. Yeah, you can try and stay away from the bullies, and you can try and tell your kids, well, They're taking it out on you because they're upset or whatever. But what I have found that when you can disarm a bully, and sometimes, because I have a pretty big social media thing. I mean, I have over 500,000 Twitter followers. And every now and then when someone just off the wall says something really hostile to me, I respond, I say, wow, I get as angry as you do sometimes. And what I've discovered is underneath it all, I'm always afraid of something. What might you be afraid of? Huh? No, I'm just, and then they can come back. But the point is, there's always fear, unless someone is evil. And I don't think the majority of people, I think evil is pretty rare. And I think what's happened is a lot of these bullies, they're not evil necessarily. They're just afraid of someone's abusing them at home. But what I've discovered is, instead of reacting, if I can, and you might want to write that down, like, geez, I felt as angry as you have. And when I'm angry like that, I'm always afraid of something underneath. What might you be afraid of? And then they might come back with something. But my track record is they often tend to leave me alone because the bullying didn't get the effect that they wanted. See, what they wanted to do was scare me, tick me off, have control over me, because they're bullying me because someone's bullying them.
So maybe the answer to that question is, if you see it going on, maybe get there with your kids side by side and teach them how to answer the question. Teach them how to respond to the bully and say, hey, what are you really feeling? Just have some fun with it, so they can feel you can disarm that pain from them. Because I would love to say that you shouldn't have your kids on Instagram, you shouldn't have your kids on the internet right now, but I think that might do more damage to them at this moment in time if you just lock them out from the entire world. So as much as I'm not a guy, like, I'm not a fan of cell phones for kids that are young, because I gave one to Ryan. And this is where Ryan spent his days, staring at this little screen. And I never took it away from him. Ryan had great grades. He did everything right. He never did anything wrong. But he wasn't on social media, but he really researched the hell out of his decision to kill himself. And he did it on the internet. And I know because he wrote it in his letter to me. So I wish I never gave him this phone. So you have to be very, very careful with your kids. You should tell them that you have a right to look at that phone anytime you want to. And I think you should tell them right now that they can't wipe their history clean if they know how to do that. And you have to look for browsers that they're using to hide what they're doing, take them off their phones. You have to be careful. 5 and 10-year-old kids. I think studies show you don't have to worry about them making a bad decision, but you do need to have the conversations because they're probably anxious. When it comes to screen time, then I'm just going through some of the questions here. All rules are off right now, right? What else are they going to do? I'm going to tell you this, that you need to make sure they have something. I tell Kyle this, let's not waste a good crisis. Kyle's my 18-year-old. What are you going to do while you're here? So Kyle's a musician, so he's going to work on another album. Awesome. He wants to write a screenplay. Awesome. He's going to start working out. Awesome. He has these books he wants to read. Awesome. He's got himself up at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of sleeping until noon. He's got a routine going. I'm not too worried about Kyle, but I'm checking in on him. But your kids need to know for the next 6 to 8 weeks, what are they going to do? Let's not look back on this time and go, I sat in my room and watched YouTube videos.
A good friend of mine said, we always guard our calendars. Meaning, when you have an appointment with someone, you keep the appointment. It's on your calendar. And I think if you get in the habit with your family, we're all going to calendar, various routines. Let's just calendar. Something, this is more of something I tell business people. I say, what you should do is every morning calendar, if you have time, calendar an hour when you're going to reach out to people, because that gets you out of your head. and you're going to reach out to them, and your email is going to say, and this could be people you haven't seen in a long time, and the email says, hey, just checking to see if you're okay. We're hanging in there. And it's not a solicitation, but this is an opportunity to reach out to people, just checking to see if you're okay. And it's nuanced. That's different saying to someone, how are you feeling? That's too mushy. But if you can get you and your kids into certain routines, and maybe one of those routines is you're going to schedule time if you're staying at home. From 4 to 4:30 is the vent half hour. We're just going to vent. We're just going to be melodramatic. It's okay to use swear words. I don't know what it is, but let's save it. Let's save it up for them, because if they're frustrated, you say, oh, this is a good thing to bring up at 4 to 4:30 when we're all just going to vent. But just
That's a great idea.
get into routines, like calendar.
People laugh. He's like, I take a picture with Kyle every day, and we call it it'll be day 14 today of quarantine, and we make up a funny slogan we post on Facebook. And I was wondering how long he was going to last with this whole thing. He's an 18-year-old kid, 18-year-old man, I guess. And he said, he's like, it's like 5 o'clock. He says, Dad, when do we do the picture? I'm like, oh, you want to do the picture? Yeah, we'll do the picture. We won't stop. Because it's routine in his life. Something to look forward to.
Here's an idea. There was a movie many years ago called Network. There was a star named Peter Finch. He played a newscaster, but he started this whole thing where people opened their windows and they just started screaming, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Might be a good movie just to watch with your family if they're teenagers and say, we're going to do from 4 to 4:30, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And then, we can say whatever we want. I want to give you a tip if you're married and you're at each other's throats, you and your spouse.
That's what I want.
I was on a podcast the other day, and this just slipped out because I have all these little random hacks that people can use. And I really got the host excited. I said, I have a tip that can stop any argument in its tracks and flip it. And I said to the host, just like I'm saying all you, would you like to know? And he said, come on, Doc, don't leave us hanging. I said, here is the simple hack. If you've ever escalated with your partner and they're saying something and then you're saying something and they're saying something, or you're about to say, whatever, I've had it. If you can pause and instead of reloading, you pause and you just ask yourself the question, what's it like for the other person right now? Pause and just be curious. I did that with my wife about 25 years ago when we were escalating. And I asked myself that question because we love each other, but we can get at each other. And I realized she didn't like where it was going. So instead of firing back, as I could have, I said, wait a minute, do you like where this is going? She said, no, I can't stand it. I said, I can't stand it either. I thought you might not like it any more than I do. And I looked at her and I said, do you have any idea how we can make it go in another direction? She paused and then she smiled at me and she said, no, but you're doing good.
I think that's great. So keep in mind, this was about your kids, but you can take all this stuff and you can use it with your husband, your wife, your brother, your parents, your friends. We have to own our kids' mental health, but right now we have to own each other's mental health. Suicide calls are up 300%, and that was 2 weeks ago. And this is only going to get worse as people are locked in longer. Get yourself out moving, get your kids out moving, get some routine in your life, have something to look forward to, have some fun, do something creative. It's a great time to be creative.
Yeah, I was on a podcast the other day, and this was brilliant when another person brought up. They said, think it's a year from now and the coronavirus is gone. It's a year from now. And you're looking back at the people you're most grateful to and what they said or did that you're most grateful to them for. So just imagine what that might be. And then you start doing that to other people. You start saying or doing to those people what if that was done to you, what a year from now you would feel most grateful about. And I think part of it is being consistent, following up, just checking in on you, or whatever it is. But I thought that was brilliant what the other person said.
I think that's great. And so again, man, don't waste a good crisis. Don't let your kids waste a good crisis. Don't waste a great quarantine. Have some fun, do something enjoyable, do something creative. Thank you. Take care. Hey everyone, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch our webinar today. I'd also like to encourage you to go to ChooseLife.org and check out all the information we have there. The Hot Lava Talk is a TEDx talk I did back in October, which really speaks to how we got here and how we can end teen suicide. I hope you get a chance to watch it. I'd also like to share with you a new song that I produced with my creative partner, Ken Goldstein. It's with the band Holiday. It's a great message for where we are during this time and during this pandemic. Please enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Gianna.
And I'm Gabriella, and we're from the group Holiday.
So about a month ago, Gabi and I had this amazing opportunity to record our first EP for BMG Production Music at the BMG Studios in Los Angeles. Right after that, we released our music video, which some of you guys may have seen. And during that time, the pandemic broke out. So we kind of thought the message of stay calm, stay put, stay clear was a great advocate for staying home right now during these times. As we've just been here at home the past couple of weeks, we started talking to our director and producer about the lyric video we are about to release. And in that, we were kind of discussing what the original intent of the song was, and that is all about mental wellness. Especially right now, it's really important to go beyond just asking, are you okay? Right now, that's not enough. And we really need to ask questions like, how are you doing? How's your joy? Have you gone outside today? How are you sleeping? Sort of things.
Yeah, and going off of that, I would say now take the time, take the opportunity, because it's the first time in our generation we're encouraged to stay home. Mm-hmm. We're so used to this go, go, go routine. And as you mentioned, your own personal wellness and your overall well-being as a person, take the time to explore not only on things that you like or your creative side, but to really find who you are as a person.
Yeah, that's right, Gabi. So go deeper in 2020. Go beyond just asking, are you okay? At the end of this storm, there will be another sunrise.
And when I say I'm okay, what I mean to tell you is I'm okay today. Like you, I do what I can with the cards I'm dealt and what I'm up against. I get down just like you. Some days I don't wanna get up, I don't wanna look into the mirror and see the mistakes I've made in the lines across my face. Some days I'd rather be alone, not face the world, stay on my own, find a place that's hard to leave, 'cause maybe I just wanna breathe. Maybe I just wanna stay calm, stay clear, stay cool, and stay put. Stay calm, stay clear, stay cool, and stay here. And I know what you mean when you fail to find the words to set the scene. Sometimes you can't, even if you try. Get the thoughts out of your head and of your mind. I get down just like you. Some days I don't wanna get up, I don't wanna look into the mirror and see the mistakes I made in the lines across my face. Some days I'd rather be alone, not face the world, stay on my own, find a place that's hard to leave, 'cause maybe I just wanna breathe. Maybe I just wanna stay calm, stay clear, stay cool and stay put, stay calm.